Innumerous discounters have come and gone over the years. In the end, stores like Kmart bought out or drove out a sea of lower-end competitors. While stores like theirs were fancier, their prices eventually rose to match. Let's rewind to Tom Pidgeon, an Ohioan who opened Grandpa Pidgeon's in 1954, which ended up being one of the last discounters to hold onto the industry's original values, having the lowest prices above all else. During the 1930s, Pidgeon and his wife Mildred ran the T.W. Pidgeon Pottery Company, a small pottery business in downtown St. Louis, Missouri. Eventually, they began producing pottery, opening the Pidgeon China Company, a factory employing many locals. During World War II, the Pidgeons were contracted to make dishes for the United States Navy. Afterward, they were joined by their veteran son-in-law, Jack Hawley, and they continued to do good business throughout the rest of the 40s by selling dinnerware at low prices. When cheaper plastics began to enter the market, the Pidgeons knew their business of 13 years had been given a rapidly decreasing shelf life. They figured it was smart to cut their losses early, and sold the company in 1953, turning to retail. In February of '54, they opened Grandpa Pidgeon's Roost in St. Anne, a northern suburb of St. Louis. The original store was very modest and had absolutely no frills. The building even had dirt floors. Grandpa Pidgeon's was a big success, and they came to serve thousands of customers. They opened with over 25,000 items at special bargain prices, and were open at 9 a.m. every day. This was controversial, as Missouri and much of the country had blue laws prohibiting many activities on Sundays, including the sale of non-essential merchandise. Like Pidgeon, many retailers continued regular business on Sundays, taking the $50 fine that resulted. Pidgeons carried clothing, shoes, tools, pots and pans, appliances, paint, sporting goods, housewares, rugs, luggage, toys, camping equipment, typewriters, and at one point even had aluminum boats. Many locals and businesses saved big-time money by shopping with them, and the Pidgeons frequently hunted for bargain items around the bi-state area for resale. They eventually moved to another store about 10 minutes away in Bridgeton. Hawley had a big hand in managing this store and would later become vice president. He eventually started another store called Grandpa's in 1958. This store was opened across the Mississippi River in Collinsville, Illinois, and was related to the original store but operated separately. Hawley opened several more of these stores over the coming years, and soon a new form of competitor would come out of nowhere: discount department stores. The Robinson-Patman Act is a law that came about in the 1930s because of the unsportsmanlike breaks that were given to larger chain stores by producers, suppliers, and manufacturers. Due to their ability to buy products in larger bulk, they were given special prices to which smaller stores were not privy. Then, these stores sold the product at prices so low, nobody else could match them. Also known as the Anti-Price Discrimination Act, this law sought to fix the glaring issue by setting a fixed minimum price for retail products, protecting the smaller, locally owned stores. This was a great thing, but mostly outlawed discount practices. The New York-based discount department store E.J. Corvette found a way around these price laws by means of many revolutionary strategies. One of these was pushing their customers into a membership program. Then, by acting as a retail cooperative, Corvette could ask for manufacturer discounts to meet the needs of their retail members, essentially allowing them to run a legal discount store, giving a benchmark for those that followed. By the 1960s, discount retail was a booming industry. There were hundreds of discount department stores operating in the United States. One of the first that opened in St. Louis was Shoppers Fair. Then came Shoppers World, Arlen, Spartan, Save Mart, Atlantic Mills, Mall Mart, Gem, Ontario, Economart, Zayre, and the list went on for what seemed like forever. There were so many discounters in the city alone that it's a wonder how the Grandpa's stores survived at all. As suburbia sprawled outward from downtown, these kinds of stores multiplied like something out of the science fiction films of the same era. This all coincided perfectly with the shopping mall craze, and tons of countryside was being paved for flashy, large commercial projects. The once quiet townships in St. Louis County were quickly plugged into a post-war power grid of commercialism, with the old Route 66 and newly built highways as their arteries. These stores were like mega-sized five and dimes with higher-end merchandise. Many five and dime variety stores launched discount divisions. Woolworth had Woolco, TG&Y had their family centers, and SS Kresge had Kmart. In 1962, Kmart and Target were launched, both pushing a more mature idea of discount. Nicer stores like theirs were slowly pushing out their antiquated ancestors. After serving as president for about 15 years, Tom Pidgeon would retire in July of '68. Hawley would buy the original Grandpa Pidgeons from him and merge their two operations into a single company. Target and Kmart had both opened their first St. Louis stores by the end of 1969, followed by the launch of the St. Louis homegrown venture discount chain. Hawley stuck to his guns and refused to raise prices. Grandpa's remained relevant by being somewhat irrelevant, but the constitution of the company would be challenged in the next decade. On October 5, 1969, Tom Pidgeon would die of heart disease at 67. Hawley went on to establish the Gramex Corporation in 1970, which would act as a holding company for Grandpa's and two other chains. He founded Omni Sports in 1972, a chain that sold sporting goods. Gramex would also back a store called Forsyth Computers, one of the first personal computer retailers in St. Louis. While Grandpa's competitors had flashy, full-color catalogs and flyers, Hawley was so committed to low prices that even the cost of their circular was cut, being printed in mostly all black on brown paper. This may sound extreme, which it was, but it signaled the deep discounts enclosed, and became iconic. There was a major discount shakeout during the recession in 1973, with most of their competitors going bankrupt. By this point, Grandpa's was one of the last original discounters, and low-end was becoming harder to find. Walmart was another chain that came out of the discount boom, which saw big success in rural markets, staying mostly out of the big cities, where competition was dense. They wouldn't enter the St. Louis area for a long while, but they quickly opened several stores around the rest of Missouri. The fifth Grandpa's store was opened in 1978, and Grandma Mildred cut the opening ribbon. The company's slogan became the one discount store that's still a discount store. As the television ad stated, you never knew who you'd see shopping at Grandpa's. It could be those in the lower, middle, or upper classes. If anyone, the well-to-do certainly know a great deal, and they shopped at Grandpa's when they wanted one. After having brought the chain from a single flagship to 6 locations, Jack Hawley would retire in 1986, and his oldest son, Tom Hawley, would take his place as president of Gramex. He would lead Grandpa's to expand outside of Greater St. Louis throughout the next decade. They were the clear winners when it came to things like jewelry and their garden center. Their high standards, low prices campaign wasn't embellished. Grandpa's began to either renovate their older stores or replace them with newer, bigger ones. A newcomer to the area was Value City, setting up shop in St. Louis County in 1995. They were a 79-unit discount department store chain based in Columbus, Ohio. They carried products among which were clothing, jewelry, hardware, sporting goods, and furniture. For Grandpa's, their local stores made them experts on the St. Louis shopper. In 1998, Grandpa's hit $200 million in sales. It had 2,000 employees and 15 stores. Meanwhile, Value City began eyeing Grandpa's for its profitability. They might have thought a buyout would gain them their customers, as they carried much of the same merchandise. Many patrons shopped there for the better part of their lives, and it was a local landmark for the region. But overall, their customers were split on the importance of the chain, and that consumer gap was enough. The next year, it was announced that Grandpa's would be purchased by Value City. While they promised to keep all employees, they didn't say the same for Grandpa's itself. Their stores would be liquidated, and were slated to be remodeled and reopened under the Value City brand. Grandpa's had been around for 45 years, and was one of the last regional discounters in the world. The lifespan of Grandpa Pigeons was honestly remarkable. Sticking to their original values and taking a lower-end model that was once common and making it somewhat niche is their success story. Mildred Pidgeon passed away in 2002. She was 97. She had a really big part in the many companies she and her husband started, taking care of administrative duties such as bookkeeping and buying for nearly 30 years. There may not be a place for the Pigeons in today's discount, but like Venture, Central Hardware, and Famous Bar, their name was a St. Louis staple that, after it died, took a part of its customers with it. A great store is one that people remember long after it's closed its doors. Grandpa Pigeons was that store.